Welcome to Monday Night Live, the weekly training that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth.
First of all, again, thank you for having me. I'll give everyone a quick background of myself and I'll kind of go into the specifics. My name's Steve Rozenberg. I originally never thought that I would be someone here on webinars and speaking and traveling the world and doing what I do as a paid speaker and consultant. My background was starting off with a regular career. Well, I say kind of regular. It was to be an airline pilot. So I grew up in Los Angeles, born and raised. I didn't have this super weird family, no weird dynamics, regular. I had 5 brothers and sisters, and we all had that hard work ethic. And I was taught that you had to work hard to be successful. So I did. And at 25 years old, I got hired by a major airline. I was the second youngest person hired by Continental Airlines at the time. And I got shipped to Guam. I was flying all over the South Pacific, Asia, Australia, and I just got married. So I was basically had the job of my dreams. I was married. I had the life of my dreams. I had everything I needed until a day in history. And that day was 9/11, which we know just passed, was a tragic day. For me, it was a reckoning because 2 days after 9/11, I got delivered a furlough notice for my safe and my secure job. And basically what they told me is, hey, Steve, we think you're great, but we really don't need you. And you're about to be on the street with 50,000 other pilots. So good luck. So now I'm 28 years old. I don't know what I'm going to do. To say that I was shocked and in awe would be an understatement. I didn't do anything to cause 9/11. I wasn't a part of it, but now I was affected by it. And because I had focused so much on one job, on one skill, that basically vaporized and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was on the chopping block with a lot of other pilots that basically could do the same thing I could do. So I started to figure out I've got to do something else. And that's something else. I started reading books and going to the library because back then YouTube and Facebook didn't exist. So I had to get a library card, join the library, and I had to re-educate myself into something else. That turned into be real estate. I didn't know anything about it, but I thought, well, you know, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm not the dumbest. I see a lot of other people doing this, so I'm going to give it a shot. I started learning all these different creative ways of doing real estate because I didn't have any money at the time. And again, this wasn't the social media world, so I had to read and go to classes and stuff. And I did really good at what was called wholesaling, which was option contracts, essentially. Had some mentors, paid some people to teach me how to do it. And I did exactly what they told me to do, which I found out was actually shocking. The guy said, you're one of the rare people that actually does it, which was weird because I paid the guy $10,000 to learn it. So, but I did it and I was successful and I kept doing it, getting better and better. I ended up making enough money that over about 2-3 years, buying an apartment complex I was living in Houston, Texas at the time. And real estate has an interesting way of just when you think you're smart enough, it comes like a wrecking ball through your front door and lets you know that you're just not smart when you don't know what you're doing correctly. After we sold our apartment complex, me and my business partner decided this is in the start of the recession, the Great Recession. So we knew how to get deals. We knew how to negotiate deals, which I believe communicators are the wealthiest people on the planet. And we started to buy houses. And the houses we were buying were low income properties because on paper, they were very smart on paper. That turned out not to be true. And we had about 25 houses until we realized why people don't own these properties. And it was just to say we were circling the toilet and we caused it to happen would be an understatement. But we did like any two dominating A personality males would do. We thought the only way to fix it is to buy more. So we bought another 15 properties thinking that would fix it. And unfortunately, it was like putting gasoline on a bonfire. It just exploded in our faces. And it got so bad that my wife said, if you buy another one, it better be nice because you will be living in it because you suck at buying houses and you need to stop. So I realized I had a problem after about 40 something houses. And we had a lot of problem properties that we didn't know what to do with. We tried to hand them over to a management company. Nobody wanted them. And so we realized we are stuck with the one thing we didn't want to do, which was manage our own houses. We sat down, we plumbed the infrastructure for the properties that we had to run correctly, just the way that we would a regular business. We solved our problems. Well, I should say we stopped the bleeding from the properties. They stabilized because we ran it like a business. And what was interesting is we had other people approach us and ask us, could you manage our houses? Which the answer was emphatically no. We don't want your problems. We barely fixed ours. That would be mental suicide. But again, we're not the smartest people on the planet. So we said, let's give it a shot. So we started managing other people's properties. And next thing we know, we had a business and we were a property management company. It's kind of where my story goes. And if anybody has any questions, you can raise your hand or stop me. But I realized that we knew nothing about running a business. We really didn't know anything about buying properties. We kind of fixed that, but we knew nothing about running a business. We were working 60, 80-hour weeks. Everybody was coming to us with their problems and they wanted us to solve them. And I had no idea how to solve their problems. The days turned into nights, nights turned into days. And we just could not figure out how to solve this problem. And we were growing exponentially fast. So people wanted what we were doing, but we just didn't know how to do it. But then people were getting upset. They were leaving us as clients. Employees were quitting on us. And again, we started circling the toilet again. So in my infinite wisdom, I thought, you know what? We need to give better customer service. That's the problem. We don't smile enough. We need to be nicer to people. So we bring in a customer service consultant. And the guy sits down and he says, well, tell me what you do. I said, well, we manage a property management company, but we need to give better service because we're losing clients. He said, tell me a problem that you have that you can't seem that's the biggest problem. I said, well, we have a dumpster fire over here that I'm happy to talk to you about. And I said, that is when we bring on a new client and it gets handed to operations. He goes, okay. He goes, that's a big problem. And I said, biggest problem we have. He said, okay, so it's me, my business partner, my senior manager. He says, you two go out of the room. Steve, you stay here. So I sat there and he says, walk me through how you bring on a new client. So this is important for you all because this is a learning lesson here. So I said, okay. So I started rattling off everything that we did, very detailed. And he's writing feverishly notes. He's writing down. He's showing me, writing down. We're done after about 30 minutes. And he said, is that how you do it? And I said, that is exactly how we do it. He says, okay, you get out of the room, have your business partner Pete come in, asks him the same question, pulls him out, brings in our senior manager, asks her the same question, says, okay, all three of you come back in the room. He takes all 3 sheets of paper and he slides them across the table to us. And guess what we found out? Not one of our processes and procedures were even remotely close. And he said, folks, you don't have a customer service problem. You have a lack of systemization problem. Until you can provide the same consistent service and the same product consistently, you will never have a business and you will be going out of business very shortly. So I started really understanding this system thing. And so I started trying to read as many books as I can on systems. I'm like, okay, I get it. And there's a book out there. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called Checklist Manifesto. Checklist Manifesto is about a doctor who's trying to systematize the surgery room in the medical industry because of all the medical malpractices that are going on from surgeries. So as he's going through this process, he's learning how buildings are made. What are the processes and procedures for buildings? And he starts learning that they all use checklists. They all use systems. There's processes. And during this book, somebody says, you need to go to the master of checklists and procedures. And he says, well, who's that? He said, Boeing Aircraft. So he gets on a plane. He goes up to Everett, Washington. He talks to Boeing. Boeing says, yeah, we've been doing this for about 100 years. We feel we've mastered it. This is how we build our aircraft with over a mile of wiring and how an airplane is built so that they don't fall out of the sky. And then this is how pilots operate airplanes, checklist procedures. And so now I'm sitting there reading this book thinking, wait a second, I'm a pilot, right? I had my job back flying and I'm like, wait a second, I do this. And I started going to the airport and I started watching all the procedures and all the systems from the gate agents to the rampers, to baggage handlers, to the lavatory people. And I'm like, huh. So I'm starting to really look at business of the airlines as a bunch of systems, not just people upset standing in line and yelling and screaming and, throwing stuff on each other. So I'm sitting there one day and I fly a Boeing 777. So I'm waiting for this aircraft to come into the gate, and I'm just sitting there watching this plane come in. And I'll give you guys this visualization. And when I'm done, you guys can ask me any questions. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching this plane come into the gate, right? And this plane, just to give you some reference, holds about 350 passengers. The gross takeoff weight on this aircraft is 770,000 pounds. It holds 230,000 pounds of fuel. So for all intents and purposes, this is an apartment complex with wings pulling into the gate. Now, if you've ever been to the airport, you will see when this happens, it looks like a bunch of ants running around. Doors are opening, ramps, cargo people are running around. It looks chaotic. But let me explain to you what actually is happening. And I'm watching this happen. 350 people exit the aircraft. All of their bags and all of the cargo is deplaned, and it's sent off to all the right other aircraft or to baggage claim wherever those passengers are going. Fuelers hook up these fuel lines, and it takes 230,000 pounds, roughly 1 hour of high pressure fueling to fuel this aircraft. Maintenance is walking around the plane doing all of their safety of flight item checks. Meanwhile, cleaners are in the aircraft. They're going in one direction, cleaning up all the trash and everything. And catering is coming the other way, and they're restocking the plane. The flight attendants are doing all of their safety checks, seatbelts, items, all that stuff. And we pilots are up in front. We're checking safety of flight, flight computers, data, weather, routing, destination, anything that could impair us from taking passengers from A to B safely. Now, in 1 hour, 350 people get back on that aircraft. It's reloaded with all their bags. And this was the interesting part. And I want you to think about this in your business. The plane pushes back, and not one of us has to talk to anyone else to do our job. That, folks, is a perfect system. This is done 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, everywhere in the world, every second. We call it the dance in the industry. This dance is happening. So I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm thinking, wait a second. If they trust me with a $250 million aircraft to do this dance with all these people, wouldn't this work in my company? And it was like that, we have those light bulb moments. I'm sure we've all had them, this epiphany. And this epiphany went off, and I went back to my business partner. I'm like, we're running an airline in our property management company. And he looked at me like I was speaking bear with two heads. I'm like, trust me, we're going to start running checklists, procedures, and systems, just like I've been trained by Boeing. And they've invested millions of dollars in me to do this. Just trust me. So we took the biggest dumpster fire we had, which was our onboarding process, and we started putting a process, a procedure, and we backed it up with a checklist. And guess what happened? Problems went away. Then we went to other parts of our company, and we systematized everything in our company to make it process, procedures, and structure. We ended up building that company because of that to over 1,000 properties. We scaled to 3 major cities. 60% of my company was outsourced to Mexico, and we ended up selling it for millions of dollars to a venture capital firm where I became a vice president that had 10,000 properties. And they were in shock. The venture capital firm was like, how did you guys do this? I said, well, we're running an airline. And they looked at me again like I had two heads speaking bear. And I'm like, we're just running an airline inside a property management company. If it works all over the world, why wouldn't it work here? And they're like, we've never even heard of that. I'm like, well, you've never had an airline pilot run a company. And so that was one of the things that we did to build a successful company. And then we learned right person, right seat, having the right, just like the fueler doesn't fly the plane. The baggage handlers don't load the catering. Everybody has a job, and it's very defined and very clear. And there's KPIs and metrics. And then there's a system that backs that up to make sure that if there are any mistakes, because people make mistakes, that the system catches the mistakes. So that is essentially, from a very quick throwing up at the mouth, information about how to build a company to run without you anywhere in the world, to make sure, because I tell people all the time, and I consult people and companies and all this all over the world. I'm very blessed to do that. But if you can't walk away from what you do for a day, a week, or maybe a month, you don't own a business, you own a job. And that's just what it is. And if you can't make it be bigger than the day you left, it's probably not a well-paying job because it's not running. But the thing when I look at people's businesses or jobs, I realize it's in their head. It's between their ears. That's the problem. It's not the system, because I'm sure everyone on this call knows what they're doing could be automated and could be systematized, right? I mean, everyone here knows that, yes or no? We know it.
Yeah.
We just don't know how to do it. And unfortunately, it's not something that's easily taught, because, you know, it didn't come to me. I had a business, a failing business. And the only thing that turned it around was, you know, training from Boeing. And that's what I show people now. But I'd like to take any questions that you guys have, and I'm happy to give you more information about what I do as far as different things with leadership and all that stuff, because we had other problems as we went. But I'd like to hear any questions that you guys may have. And if you're nervous, you can put it in the chat. I promise I won't yell at you.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll lead the charge. We have you know, of course, 20 something agents on a night, or 30 something agents. Most of us already serve investors, and all of us eventually will. Some of us are pretty new. And a lot of our investors want to self-manage because they think they're saving money, you know, and I get it. It's a 10% line item. They'll think, hey, I can save 10% by doing it myself. It's my property anyways. The first thing I tell them is, well, you can do that, but your role as a property manager is different than your role as an owner. Your role as an owner is to make a profit. Your role as a property manager is to manage your property so that they can make a profit. But it's two different things, and you should be paid. If you're going to manage your properties, you should pay yourself. And I said, even if you don't, you should at least include it in your pro forma, so that later on, if you decide to go to property management, you got the budget for it. But in any case, you know, sometimes these discussions happen, sometimes they don't. Sometimes we have clients buying a duplex, sometimes it's a 100 unit complex. But having said all that, with what you're doing, applying systems, it is vitally important to property. I used to own a property management company, and thankfully I had a really good manager. We had policies, procedures, everything, checklist, the whole 9 yards. And part of it was my background from banking, which is heavily in the systems, and the U.S. military, which is systems oriented, and then prior to that, NASA. And as you can imagine, flying space shuttles it's all about systems. You know, so for everybody here, it's working with the client. Can you see how we can use this knowledge to persuade or influence a prospective client to work with us, to keep us around for a long time, so we can help them when it comes to managing these properties that we're helping them buy? I mean, like, can you think of like a script or a dialogue, or even a checklist? Maybe we have a checklist we can give these investors.
Can I just chime in a little bit here, Gary? Because I've got something that, you know, this was very near and dear to me, because I'm an investor and I was a property manager, or I wasn't a manager, but I own the company. So I think it's important, you know, and I'm happy to go down this conversation with anyone. So one of the things we want to think about is my rule doesn't apply to property management. It applies to any business. So I work with realtors and property managers, real estate investors, like you name it, because all businesses run under the same chassis. So I want everyone to write this down. There are marketing, right? What is marketing? Marketing makes the phone ring. Now you want to make sure that the phone is ringing from the right person. So I would recommend that, again, this is just something that I would give you as advice, number one, because if you're talking to the wrong person, you're wasting everyone's time. So what I would recommend, and I do this when I teach marketing classes, is you've got to understand your clients. Who is your target client? So if you were to grade your clients A through D, D are the horrible ones. D are the ones that we all have, that when the phone rings, you're like, oh my God, here we go, right? That's the one that you just know they're going to complain. They're going to whine, and they're the cheapest. You never make money on them. They're the ones. So you've got to identify the D's. The C's are either cheap or they take up your time. It's not both. Okay. Now, the B's are your silent majority. The B's are the ones that they pay the price. You don't hear from them. They don't complain. They're just happy-go-lucky. The A's are just like the B's, but they're evangelical. They're raving fans. They refer you all the time. So there's something I want you to do. Take your A's and take your B's and figure out what is the common thread. What is there is a common thread between them. If you look at them, there's a certain age, there's maybe even a gender, there is a demographic, there's an income level, there's a geographic of where they live. And most importantly, you solved a problem for them. You've got to figure out what problem did you solve that made them go to you and say, I want to talk to you. So once you can identify your A's and B's, you also need to identify your D's, because you want to know, how did you find me? Because I don't want to advertise there anymore. I want to give that to my competition. So if you don't know where you found your D's, you're going to keep getting them. So don't fish in the pond where, you're catching catfish if you're trying to catch trout, right? So you've got to make sure if you're reeling in the fish, don't reel the D's in. So it's important because you're spending marketing dollars to catch that D. So once you figure out the A's and B's and you figure out that message, and if you don't know why they contacted you, you can just simply ask them, hey, do you mind if I ask you, why did you use me? Well, you did this, this, and this. Okay, good to know. I'd write that down. So marketing makes the phone ring. Sales answers that phone, and they go through a sales step process. I'm assuming everyone here has a sales step process. If you don't, you should have one, of specifically going through a systematic way of closing them or deselecting them because they're not going to be a fit. So marketing makes the phone ring, sales answers the phone. Okay. Then once they close them and they become clients, now it goes to operations. Operations job is three things. They process the order to fulfill it. They do such a good job that they get the client to repurchase again and again, right? Getting recurring revenue from that one client, and or they have referrals. So they refer people. Each person is equal to 5.7 referrals statistically. So if you're going, let's say I am Gilbert's a client, and I'm the guy that Gilbert goes, that's the guy I would like working with. He pays, he doesn't complain, he's a raving fan. And you go, hey, Gilbert, I've got 4 or 5 other friends that would love to talk to you. The reason Gilbert doesn't get those people is Gilbert doesn't ask me, and he doesn't have a written referral program. People believe what they read, not what they hear. So if you guys all had and maybe you do, I don't know, but if you had a referral program, you could double or triple your business without any more marketing costs, because a referral is your highest conversion, right? You're going to make the highest margins and the easiest conversion from there. So again, marketing makes the phone ring from the right people. Sales answers that call, and then they go through the sales step process, and through the sales step process, they close them. Incidentally, 80% of all closes happen between the 5th and 12th touch. So when I talk to people and I ask them how many steps are in your sales step process, and they say 2, you're missing out on a lot of business, because if you're not even touching them between 5 and 12, you're missing out on 80% of the business. You already paid something to make that phone ring. So once you get them and you close them, and if you have at least, most sales steps process have between about 22 steps in the process. Now that could be a text message, could be an email, just some form of mechanism that could be automated through maybe a CRM system to touch them. Operations processes the order, they get them to buy again and or get a referral. Finance, accounting, make sure everyone's paid. And the top of that, overseeing everybody, is leadership. What I just described is an organization chart. The organization chart of a company. You are all individually are companies. You are businesses. Your business just happens to be in real estate, and a subsection of real estate is sales. So you are all businesses. Your businesses need to make sure that you don't have any blind spots. Because if you said, hey, I've got the best systems and the best operations, but if you're not focusing on marketing, no one knows who you are. Right? So there are 3 cornerstones to build a successful business. It's monetization, which essentially is sales and marketing, right? Making the phone ring. Monetization will solve most problems. Money will solve most problems immediately, not long-term. But we can buy a lot of cool stuff with money. Yes or no, right? So once monetization is fixed, then systemization. We have to systematize what we're doing, which is making the business run without us. And the next thing we have to do is duplication. How do we duplicate ourselves? How do we duplicate other people? How do we grow our business without us? That's called leverage, right? So Gary, just circling back to what you said, the way that you get investors to use you is you get them to understand all of these facets of their business. Listen, one of the reasons, the highest sued person in real estate is a landlord, because they don't treat it like a business. Second highest sued person in real estate is a realtor. That's just statistics. So, and it's a realtor trying to manage properties when they're not actually a property manager. That's normally where the lawsuits happen, because tenants have a lot of rights. And so if you can come in as the educator to these investors and start asking them questions, then I would recommend that you would be a lot more successful. If they want to self-manage it, that's there. But I would say, here's a form of the top 20 questions you should ask yourself if you should self-manage. Do you know the laws, rules, regulations? Do you know Texas property code or California property code? Do you know the post-COVID laws for eviction? You start asking them these questions and you go, or is it worth, $3 a day, which is about $150 a month, give or take, to have someone else manage your property for you, and you don't have to worry about it, and you can be the owner of the business, not the manager in the business. So it's your job to sell them the experience and the result, not just tell them, hey, you should manage it yourself, because they're looking at dollars and cents. When I used to do this and I would talk to investors, my first question is you only have two things, which is time and money. One of those you get back, another one you don't. The one you're wasting is the one you don't get back. So you're wasting your time doing something you don't know what you're doing. You've never done it before. And now you are the one that actually is going to be the one standing in front of the judge. And the judge says, let me see your process and procedures manual on how you do this, this, and this. And that's when it gets ugly for investors. That's the dark side of investing that people don't talk about. So my point is if you go in as an educator and you're helping them and you're giving them the resources, you are that expert. And when you're expert, you're trusted. And when you're trusted, they do business with you. That's my rant. Who's got what?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. I appreciate that, buddy.
Hey, who on the call here has ever managed your own units or units for a client? I mean, I'll raise both hands. But anybody besides me ever managed your Kay? So Kay, do you, oh, by the way, Kay, those listings you got recently, were those from Corinne?
The apartment listings were, the other ones were referrals.
Okay. Yeah, because you're on fire.
Got to get them sold.
But is this starting to resonate with you? What Steve's talking about? I mean, partly because what you were doing with Corinne,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you weren't even fully. Actually, tell Steve what that relationship was like. What you were doing for Corinne.
Well, basically, she was an investor who was going to sell everything in a year, and asked me to help her get everything rented so she could sell them. And then it turns out that the partnership she was in that was supposed to dissolve was going to dissolve a year later. So she asked me to do it again, and it just ate up all my time, and I got little or nothing from it. So I really had to put boundaries on her, and we're still communicating, and I still help her, but I've got much tighter boundaries on what I do. And she has a property manager, so I don't do property management for her. But I was trying to help her, and boy, was that a mistake.
Well, and I'll be honest, Kay, you really want to be careful helping, because you are a licensed expert. And if anything goes wrong, they're going to go, she told me to do that. Yeah. So the investor can say, I'm just a dumb investor. I don't know what I'm doing. Kay's licensed by the state. And so the state looks more harsh. And I'm just telling you, because I've seen this before, when you're just trying to help them out and they go and do something way off the reservation, because that's how they interpreted it. And so my advice is, for everybody, if you're ever going to help anybody, have everything in writing and be very, very clear, because how it's interpreted when you're standing in front of a judge or you're in a mediator, and they're going to go, you are the licensed professional. You that's not your realm. You're not certified. So what I would recommend, Kay, is next time when you talk to people, and I used to do this with agents who worked for me when I had my brokerage, is we'd set an expectation conversation. So listen, I want to be very respectful of your time. I'm going to send you deals. I am going to do this. I expect an email or call back within 24 hours. You can expect this from me. So you let them know, this is what you can expect of me. This is what I'm going to do. And this is what I expect of you. And I'm going to respect your time, and you're going to respect mine, because that's the one thing I don't get back. And if my time is not respected, then it doesn't make sense for us to move forward. And you're not being mean. You're just being firm, but fair with your time, because if you don't respect your time, no one else will. And so we would say, listen, when, okay, you want to buy a deal or you want to sell a deal, what should I expect of you? If I send you a deal to look at, when should I expect a call back? Because I'm not going to wait 5 days in a hot market because we're just wasting time. So if they say, oh, you'll hear back in 24 hours. Okay, so we're agreement. If I don't hear back from you in 24 hours, what is step 2? Because there's always going to be a step 2. So that down the road, when you have a problem, you go, hey, you remember that conversation we had that we weren't going to waste each other's time? Do you remember we said that? And then it rings a bell. So now we have a decision to make. Either we are going to respect each other's time, or it's best that we just don't work with each other, because I don't want to be rude, but I have to protect my time because this is how I earn a living. So a lot of times when you tell them that, and again, I believe that it's not because they don't respect your time. They just don't think about it because you don't bring it up. So you've got to let them know, like, listen, my time is very valuable, just like yours is. I'm going to respect your time, but you're definitely going to respect mine. And so I don't know if that would help, Kay, but a lot of times having these expectation meetings, like anytime I do business with someone, even if I'm coaching someone, I'm very, very clear going, hey, look, let's just throw it all on the table. I don't want any misunderstanding as to what we can expect from each other. Because down the road, if we do get sideways, I'm going to say, remember that conversation. And listen, if I'm wrong and I mess up, I'm the first one to step up and admit it. And I'll take ownership of anything I did. And I'm not going to blame anyone. I'm just going to say, you know what? It's just not working for me. So, people get on something because of an emotion, right? They're on a high, they're excited, they're pissed, they're angry, whatever it is. And they look at you. And if you're like, hey, I'll do everything for you, I'll do this. And I'm not saying you did this, Kay, but if you did that, a lot of times what happens is they'll come back and be like, oh, well, Kay will take care of it. And it's just an assumption that, if you don't correct them, they're just going to keep assuming it. Does that make sense?
Did you know that you can participate in class every Monday? We call it Monday Night Live, 7 p.m. Eastern, with me and dozens of other investor agents from around the country, in fact, the world. Every Monday, totally free. No selling, no recruiting, just straight up education on anything and everything in real estate. And we have a lot of good guests coming on once or twice a month, bringing in expertise on subjects like how to buy a house with crypto. Okay. How about them apples? What about AI? How's AI affecting our business? How about the metaverse, blockchain processing? We're already using it in title work. So come on to Monday Night Live, be ready to take notes and ask questions because it's live and engaging, and you get to participate by asking questions and meeting others. So we'll see you there. Go to GaryRealEstateWithGaryWilson.com, click on the resource tab, drop down, and you'll see Monday Night Live. And in there, you can see one of the most recent classes. But more importantly, you can register for class as many as you want going up to like the end of the year, I believe. So in any case, do that. We'll see you on Monday Night Live. Look forward to meeting you in person. Take care. Yeah. Yeah.
Who else got something? Let me help you guys.
Well, I want to, Mike McGran, if you don't mind speaking up some, by the way, Kay's from Texas and so was Mike McGran.
God bless Texas.
Mike's actually from College Station, just an hour and a half north of Houston, but
yeah.
He and his mom have been in real estate, a long time and investing, dealing with investors. And Mike, hopefully you're not, if you're muted right now, but hopefully you're still there in front of your computer or your phone. I just want to have you, oh, there you are. I just want to have you chime in. I know when you and I first met, came on board and you're an excellent agent. And from what I can see with you and your mom, an investor too, but and you're in an area with a lot of student rentals. I mean, that was huge university there. But does this resonate with you, or anything you can share about your experience when it comes to these investment properties and what you've seen, particularly from the owners?
I think the first thing was, as a beginner agent, to go to work with my mom, who didn't use checklists. She she started in '84 and was doing things herself and would just memorize processes in her mind. And she wasn't able to convey that in writing. And so the parts with discussions on checklists and having systems, as we discussed earlier in this presentation, I think that's critical for the new agents coming on now. Don't get me wrong, I need everything that we've discussed in this presentation. I've been working as a realtor for 20 years, but I think it's critical for the new agents. kind of something that you and I talked about earlier is my marketing and having, next year planned out. And that takes the systems to organize the calendar and the marketing methods and the budgets. And even after 20 years, I'm still lacking that. So it definitely resonates. From the investor standpoint, it's a little bit difficult for me to share knowledge because I've seen the responsibilities that property managers have, as my parents had rental properties, and I could empathize with the realtors that chose to have property management companies or have that as part of their workload, is managing their investors' properties. I think it's critical for the referral business that you all are talking about, that if you're going to be working with investors, that you've got loyal property managers or your own company, because you're going to be able to retain those clients, help them buy more properties and sell on their exit strategy. So, it's important. We hadn't really discussed this, but that was one of the reasons I left the company I was at. Was there were realtors at the company taking my clients, and I wanted a cooperative environment, which our team offers. And not having your own property management services in-house, not doing your own property management, you risk losing your investors to those property managers if you don't have the right agreements set up. So, those are kind of some of my experiences from the last 20 years.
Steve, I want to point out here too, Mike's actually an engineer by trade.
Okay. Yeah, Mike, you're 100% correct. It's funny, when I first got into this business and we were growing our company and we wanted to start working with agents, I was going all over Houston. I was talking to agents and like, yeah, we don't use property management companies. And I'm like, well, what do you do with the clients? They're like, well, we just let the agents manage them on their own, or we just, refer them. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, I'm just curious, like, why? And same thing. They said, well, the management company always steals the client. And so I thought about this again. As a pilot, we're always looking for solutions, right? We're always looking at situations and how to come up with solutions. And I said, so if I gave you back the client and I put it in a contract, would you give me the client then? And they're like, I'll give you all my business and I'll refer you. And I was like, huh. So we went back and we crafted an agent alliance program. So what we ended up becoming the most referred company in Houston because of this. So what I did was I went and I got CE certified. So I was teaching CE classes, and I would teach the classes to realtors, and we would talk about this agent alliance program. And so some of the things I would talk about are, fair housing laws, most agents didn't know the discrimination, all 7 of those. They didn't know any of the laws that could get them in trouble. And so I would say, like, if you refer a client to us, okay, and you want to do the lease, you can do the lease. If you want us to do the lease, we'll do the lease. Okay. Either one, we don't care. The only thing we request is that we do the background check on the tenant, because we do over 100 a month and we know what we're looking for. And we have our processes and our procedures. And we have found a higher eviction rate when an agent does the background than us. So agents really didn't want to do the background because it's not in their wheelhouse. So they'd say, yeah, no problem. So they would find the tenant, send them to us. We would screen them. So they would do the lease. They would get paid, and then we would guarantee them the first right of refusal when the agent or if the investor ever wanted to sell. So they would get back to the owner. And I said, listen, I can't guarantee, and we tell the owner, like, look, or the agent, I can't guarantee that the owner wants to go to you. All I know is we won't take it. Like, we don't want to have anything to do with it. You're basically the bread. You're on the front side, you're on the back side, we're the meat in the middle. So it actually makes you look more professional because you're saying, listen, I'm partnering with a professional management company. Front side of the deal. Now, I said, just like you talked about, Michael, this has to do with marketing, keeping the relationship with the client. Here's the thing a lot of people don't realize. The average investor owns 3 to 5 properties. They buy and sell those properties on average on year 3, year 5, and year 7. So that's a total of 8 possible 6 transactions, right? So basically, the agent is losing all those deals because they don't keep in touch with the thing. And with the client. So I tell them, like, that's on you. We are just managing the asset. That's all we want to do. Our business model is set up to manage the asset. You can make money on the buy. You can make money on the sale. Is your client. Like, we just want to synergistically. And we became the highest referred company because of that model. And we just made our money in the middle. And again, because everyone else was greedy, everybody was running away, we ran in. So it's just a different way. That's how we did it. I'm not saying other, you'd have to have conversations with those management companies, but we had a contract, we'd signed a contract with them. Oh, and we paid them 20% of what we made every month. So they got mailbox money for the first year. We gave them a referral fee every month that we got paid, they would get paid. And we gave them 20% referral fee. So they made money on the lease, they made money on the referral fee, and then they made money on the sale. We would say, hey, this was your agent. Unfortunately, a lot of times they would go, I don't even remember that agent. I never heard from them again. Okay, well, you go somewhere else because I don't want that agent coming back to me, being upset because we have a reputation, and I don't want them saying that he said, she said. So you don't have to use them, but you can't use us. Marlia? I see you have a hand raised.
Yeah, actually, it's Marilee, but
oh, sorry, I was close.
You didn't call me malaria, so thank you. I was going to say what was really interesting about the system that you were just telling everybody about was actually how I got into real estate. That's how I started. And it was during the recession, and I had been laid off from a really fat advertising job. And I'd gone to a new technology meetup group because all I've ever done is sell other people's stuff. Even when I was a flight attendant for Continental 122 years ago, I was selling booze on that plane. Yeah. So, right? So I've always thought of myself as, and I remember there's a quote that somebody told me that was Lee Iacocca, but he was actually quoting Mary Kay Ash. Nobody makes anything till somebody sells something. And that's a fact. So when I started in this business, I ended up I was looking for a job to sell somebody something. And I met these two guys from Israel. And they were at this meetup group looking for some place to park about $50 million for the downturn. And we got to talking, and one of them said, so what would you do? And it sounds really similar to what you did. I said, I would take all that money. I'd buy up, but I didn't say houses. I said, I'd buy up all these foreclosed townhomes and condos, lower maintenance, right? And I'd turn them into Section 8 housing. And they said, well, do you want to do that? And I said, well, do you want to pay for my license? So that was how I got into this business. But what I started out with, and it was funny because they wanted me to also manage the properties, but I knew enough to know that I didn't know how to do that. Yeah. I knew that I could vet the property. I knew that I could figure out how to get the property, because I'm sure you remember, this was when you'd walk into a place and there'd be feces on the walls and people will have removed the plumbing. So
yep, I remember those days.
They were angry, yeah. Right? So I would walk in and I would vet the property and figure out how we were going to renovate the property to make it livable and Section 8 ready. And at that time, we weren't looking for 4%, 7% cap. We didn't do anything under 15, nothing. If it wasn't going to make 15 on the cap, we weren't doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, with those expenses. so yeah, that was how I learned how to do this.
Yeah. And the great thing about real estate, I always tell people, is there's no rules. You can do whatever you want. But you can make money. You can make money so many different ways. The bad thing about real estate is you can do whatever you want and you don't know that you've messed up until, you're either out of money or standing in front of a judge.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great story though. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that.
Yeah. It was just about those systems, figuring out.
Everything we do is systems. And by the way, you mentioned about selling booze. Listen, every day someone is either you are selling or someone is selling you. There's Grant Cardone did a good book, Sell or Be Sold. It's so true. In a conversation, either you are convincing them that they need your product or they are convincing you that they don't need it. Someone is walking away being sold and someone is selling. That is life. Whether it's your kids going to bed, whether it's you going on a date, whatever it is, someone is being sold every day. Jeff, what you got, buddy?
Hey, man, I got a question for you. This is completely off topic, but I have to ask you, what are you flying?
I fly a Boeing 777.
No, I mean, personally, do you have a plane? So
No,
you're
I
still,
don't.
no?
No, no, I get my fix of flying when I go to the airlines. I normally fly long haul. I do Tokyo, I do Amsterdam, Germany, Rio de Janeiro. So I go
Okay, I
long
missed
haul and
that.
then yeah.
I missed that part. I thought you were retired and now in business. And I thought, well, if you're retired, you must have a plane. Like,
No,
what?
no, I actually, believe it or not, I still do it. I do it because I love it, not because I need it, but I fly 3 times a month all over the world. I think it's the best part-time job in the world that gets me out of the house, and it gets, I get to get my fix in for flying, and I can walk off the plane and I don't have to clean it. I don't have to fuel it. I don't have to
Yeah.
maintain it. And I get my flying fix in and I'm good. So yeah, I fly.
Yep.
I tell people I'll do it till I don't enjoy it. Right now, I still enjoy doing it. And so I'm going to keep doing it until something changes.
Cool. Sorry, everybody. I had to, it's like having Mario Andretti on and not asking him what he drives on Monday morning. You know, it's like,
No problem.
I
No problem.
appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Hey guys, something I want to bring up is referrals and I know we've obviously talked about it, but I've never put a lot of emphasis on it, and maybe we should. And the reason is when you work with investors, you automatically have repeat business. And the average, it's not just our average, but whenever I speak to other agents who work with investors, their average is 4 transactions per client, versus just 1 for owner occupants. So one of the challenges you'll find is some investors are awesome clients. They'll refer you to their friends. I mean, like the groups like dentists. Dentists are very tribal, just like chiropractors can be tribal. So if you do a good job with one dentist, expect that you're going to get business from other dentists. Now, there's also other investors who don't think that way. They're very scarcity minded. And when they find someone like you who's trained and skilled and has all these awesome tools and strategies, they want to keep you to themselves. And they're also the same ones, by the way, because they're scarcity minded, who ask you to reduce your rate. Has anybody ever had that happen? Have an investor say, hey, can you cut your commission if I'm going to let you flip the house? So here's what I learned to do. I would say, well, you're asking me to work just as hard, if not harder, for less pay. The only way I would do that is if you give me a referral now. Give me a referral, and then I'll entertain the idea of selling your house at half price, or if I bind the buyer in, I'll waive my buyer's commission, that kind of stuff. And that actually worked, So keep that in mind. But so Steve, do you have anything in mind, like words of wisdom on getting referrals? I know one of the famous sayings is in real estate, a lot of agents will wait to the closing table to get a referral, but really when is the best time to ask for a referral? It's at the beginning of the relationship when they're most excited. But other than that, any systems you've seen related to that, or like a checklist to follow or something in a daily planner to keep reminding
Yeah,
people?
and I'll be honest, it's more simplistic than most people think. A lot of people want to convolute it, and it's really just a matter of asking. So when there's what's called the law of reciprocity. The law of reciprocity is I do for you, you do for me. And so has anyone ever heard of that? Have you ever heard of that term, law of reciprocity? It actually became very, very famous. So psychologically, if I did something for you, psychologically, you feel the need to have to reciprocate and give it back to me, right? Whatever that is. And so there was a religious sect in the 70s and 80s that got very, very good at law of reciprocities, and that was the Hare Krishnas. They would be in the airports and they would walk up and say, we'd like to give you a free flower. And you would take the flower, and guess what they would ask for? Could I have a donation? And so you go in your pocket and you pull out $1 and you give them $1 and you walk away. And guess what you would do when you were walked away with that flower? Throw it away. They knew that. They reused that flower on average 24 times until it was unusable. And they became the richest religion sect in the world. They got so good, they got banned from airports. So that is actually used on us today. And so I'm going somewhere with this story. Anyone ever been to Costco, Sam's Club, and they go, would you like to try this green verde soup bowl? And you take it and you never even heard of it. And next thing you know, you're putting one in your shopping cart and you're buying one, and it's something you didn't even want. That is the law of reciprocity. On average, there's a 528% increase in sales at every one of those booths at Sam's Club and Costco because of the law of reciprocity. So what you have to do is you have to work off of that model. Anytime someone says thank you, they are happy. That's when you ask them for the favor. Someone says, hey, you give them an introduction to someone. You help them do something. Hey, by the way, we have a competition going at the office and I'm losing. Could I ask a favor? Well, you just did them a favor. So what are they going to say? Yes. Would you mind? And now you've got to be very specific. You can't just say, leave me a review. Would you mind telling people how I always answer the phone and how I helped you specifically in this situation to find a contractor to fix your leaky pipe? And I'll tell you what I'll do to make it easier. I'll just send you an email about it. And to make it easier, you can just copy and paste it. And I'll put the link right below it. So you can just put the link in and you can just paste it in the link and I'll make it simple for you. People are lazy. If you give them that moment, a period for them to walk away, they're never going to do it. That's why people go like, oh, I asked at the closing table. That is the last thing on their mind at that point. Like you said, Gary, it's asking up front. So that's for asking for reviews. Same thing with asking for referrals. If you just say, by the way, so you're going to use me. Once they decide to use you when you're talking to them, can you give me the names of like 3 people you think could also use me? Go for 3. Why just go for 1? If you go for 3, you'll probably get 1, right? So like, who are 3 people that are similar to you that you think could use my thing? And do you know anyone that's trying to increase their net worth by buying real estate investments? That's something I do also. 72% of investors do not use their realtor that helped them buy their first live-in property as their first investment property. Do you know why? Because they don't say, by the way, I also can help you build your net worth buying investment properties. They go, oh, that was an investment. This is a house I live in. Those are 2 different things. That's why I didn't call you. It's a messaging problem. It's literally, like Gary, it really, like, I hate to say, to dumb it down, you don't need a checklist. You just need to let them know, by the way, and send them emails. I'm sure you all have a CRM system that does drip campaigns. I would send them content, send them information. Hey, just helped another investor, just helped another person, achieve their goals of investment properties. They're going to go, wow, I didn't know, I didn't know Rob did that. Okay, good to know. I'm going to call Rob next time. Hey, if you're ever looking for an investment property, let me know. If you know anyone looking for investment, this is the best time. You've got to put it in their center of being. Otherwise, they're never going to see it. It's one of those one days. One day I'm going to stop smoking. One day I'm going to lose weight. One day I'm going to slam dunk a basketball. One day I'll buy investment properties. If you bring it to their doorstep, it's a lot easier than the one day.
Yeah. It's interesting when it comes to reciprocity. For everybody here, if you're particularly if you're new to the team and you're just not, there's a lot to take in with all the team has. And we have 6 training programs and now 9 books. And some of the books you can give away for free to your clients. Some of them, you know which ones are which. But the training programs, each module has attachments to it, like addendums and supporting material. The way the rights are written, the contracts are written for selling those programs is you can use all that collateral material, which includes all the checklists, all the calculators, everything. I mean, the property manager training program has literally the entire set of policies and procedures that we developed in my property management business. You can give all that to your clients. So when you're meeting people and you're out there and you go into these investor clubs, the RIA groups and so forth, RIA being Real Estate Investors of America, print some of that stuff off, take it with you, or just get, make sure you get people's names and numbers when you meet them. We call it kissing babies and shaking hands. And if they say, ask them what their biggest problem is at a meeting, they'll say, you know what, it's managing these properties and dealing with the tenants. You could say, you know what, we've got an entire system just for that on our team. How about if I email you some material tomorrow, like our policies and procedures? Would that help you? Here are things that might be a good idea going to an investor club and offering a client to for you to give them a whole set of policies and procedures to help them make more money and stay out of court. And it's all there. You guys, you don't have to pay for it. It's there for you to use to give to your clients, So, by the way, Steve, I don't know I'm trying to remember the name of the book. The authors, I think Caldone, and the book was something like Psychology of Persuasion or.
Yeah. Robert Cialdini.
There you go.
Psychology of Influence. Yeah, it's a great
Psychology
book.
of Influence. Yep.
Great book.
I like the part about the Cub Scout with the candy bars,
Yeah.
I'm like, how can you turn out a Cub Scout with a candy bar?
It's yeah. Genius. And by the way, I completely agree with you, Gary. Giving things away for free. People are like, why would, like, for me, I give away so much stuff. I give away documents. I give away so much stuff. People are like, why do you give it away for free? I'm like, it's the law of reciprocity. It's living through abundance. Like, you know, it's building that trust. If you hoard everything, whatever energy you give out, I'm a big believer, that's what you get back. If you don't give stuff, you don't get stuff. That's just how it is. Like, anyone I know that is successful, and I'm talking 8-figure successful, they all give. They donate money,
Yeah.
they give things away, they do whatever they can to help people, and it comes back. I'm just how that works, I don't know. I mean, I'm here, you know, tonight doing this because I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's the right thing to give back and help. Maybe you guys will
Yeah.
take this information, and maybe some of you won't. I don't know, but hopefully this is something that you'll take with you, and you'll be able to carry on and you know, monetize this to make your lives better.
Yeah. So, hey guys, it is 8 o'clock, and I'll stay on as usual. Another half hour. I do want to tell you though, the Pittsburgh Steelers are playing tonight, the Cleveland Browns. So I'm not sure how many football fans we have, but you know, I'll probably be watching this some of that. But in any case, we still have time. If you have questions, if you have something that's a thorn in your side right now, as far as a client or a property or transaction, I mean, you know, fire away. But you've got Steve on right now, and he's got experience, you know, in your exact field of real estate. So especially with property management, that's the biggest challenge with investors. Once they own, they'll tell you it's management. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I have a question, and it's a small issue, but I have one client, and it's like she tries to micromanage and question everything, you know, that we agreed to do. And I'm trying to figure out if there's a better way I should handle it or just walk away.
Yes, there is. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with personality profiles, disc profiles and stuff like that. I used to teach it, and I, you know, not saying that's what this person is, but they're normally a certain personality, maybe a D. And the reason they're asking questions is either they don't trust the person or they want to do it themselves, and that's just their personality. There's a thing what's called mirror and matching. So people subconsciously get along with people that are like them. So if somebody is very dominating, like a D personality, and you're very submissive, they're going to keep dominating, and they're not going to subconsciously, they're not going to respect you. Right. And I'm not saying they don't respect you as a person, just they don't respect the type of personality until you become the same person they are. And when you become the same person, all of a sudden they go, okay, now I get that person. So to you, it may feel like you're about to get into an argument. To them, they're going to go, finally, someone gets me. So, and you're dealing with that. And I'm not saying to have a conflict, but what I'm saying is it goes back to expectations. Listen, and we used to do this all the time in managing people. I want to do this. I want to do that. So we would have a conversation with them, and we would say, listen, only one person is managing this property. It's either you or me. It's not both of us. So if you want to do it, let me give it back to you, and you can do it. No problem.
Mhm.
If you want me to do it, this is how I operate. So it's really having that conversation and setting expectations. Like, and again, in the beginning, that's when you set it in the beginning. If they said, we'd have owners that said, I want to be involved in the process. I want to do this. I want to do that. You know what? We're probably not going to be a good fit because that's not our business model, and we're not going to change it. We manage 1,000 properties. We're not going to change it for one person that wants to be involved. If you want to be involved, I'm not saying that's wrong, but you're not going to do it with us. So it may help to just say, you know what? Maybe we're just not a fit. And a lot of times, Kay, when you say that, they're going to go, oh, wait a second. Like, no, I didn't mean it that way. And you don't want to be defensive or like get upset. You just say, you know what? Listen, it's either going to be you or it's going to be me. It's not going to be both of us. If you want to do it, you know what? Let me just give it all back to you and you'll handle it. Normally, that's all of a sudden you're getting back to them and now you're level, and they're going to go, no, I didn't mean that. Say, well, listen, let's just make sure we're on the same page, because this is how I operate, and this is what you can expect of me. What do you need to know to feel comfortable? How often do you want me to communicate with you? If it's every day and I feel that's something I can do, I will let you know. So then when they call you halfway through the day and you're like, remember the conversation we had about you calling me every day, every minute? And remember what I said we're going to do? So they're, oh, sorry. So that's more of personality, mirror and matching. You want to become who they are, and you want to match them. You want to match their tempo. You want to match the way they're expressing themselves. And you just set the expectation, because if you don't, they're just going to keep walking on you, and it'll get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
So that's my experience.
yeah, that's what I've done, is just said, I just don't think this is a good fit. I think, you ought to go work with so-and-so and such and such. No, he won't do it. He doesn't want to work with me. He wants me to have you. And it's a lot of triangulation. So you're exactly right. As soon as I say, I think you need to find somebody else, man, she freaks out.
Yeah. So then I would exactly say that, Kate, when they do that, say, listen, if you want me to do it,
Here's how
you've got to trust me. If we're not both driving the car at the same time, either you're going to drive or I'm going to drive. We're not both driving. So who's driving? Because if, what you, and again, sometimes they don't know this. Sometimes you've got to tell them, like, look, you are the business owner. You need to be working on the business. I am working in the business for you, for your property. Let me do what I do. I'm licensed. This is what I'm paid to do. Let me handle it.
Yeah.
And so it's just setting that tone. And because the last thing you want to do is wait until she really pisses you off. And now you're like exploding. They're like, I don't know why Kay's so upset. Like, she just blew her top at me and this, that, but it's been building and building and building and building. And then they're like, I don't know why she's so mad at me. It's like, so make it a pressure relief valve so that it doesn't happen before.
Yeah. That's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Pressure release valve. I like that.
There you go.
Yeah, Brittany has a question in the chat box. Let me pull up the chat so I can read the whole thing. I don't know if you can see the chat, Steve, or not.
Yeah.
So I've been playing phone tag with a seller client. He calls when I'm busy, and then I give him a call back and he doesn't answer even 3 minutes after his missed call. What are some good things I can do to get in touch with this seller, if there are any?
It's a good question, Brittany. I honestly, what I would suggest is try different times of the day, or ask them what time. So you do what's called an alternative close. And you're like, listen, I'm free tomorrow afternoon or Tuesday morning. Which one's better for you? And then when he says, okay, I'm free Tuesday morning. Okay. What time? 8 o'clock. Okay. So I'm going to call you at 8 o'clock. Does that work for you? So if you just ping pong it back and forth, there's no set time. So I would specifically do an alternative close, meaning I would ask them, like, I'm free Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning. Which one's better for you? Monday afternoon is good. Okay. Give me a time so I can block it on my calendar so we have time together. So kind of put it in concrete. And then when he says, okay, 4 o'clock on Monday. Okay, great. 4 o'clock on Monday. So we're going to talk 4 o'clock on Monday, correct? I'm going to put it on my calendar. I'm going to send you a calendar invite, so it's official. And then we will talk at that time. So if you just keep pinging it, it's never going to get anywhere. You got to kind of set it in concrete. And so that's the way I would set it. I would do an alternative close. And then from then I'd pin him down from a wide down to narrow, and then lock it in, send him a calendar invite, and then go from there.
And Brittany, they'll actually respect you more for doing that. It is everybody learns that, by the way. It's one of the first things everybody learns in this business is, we're so much on demand. Consumers get used to the fact that they can just call us anytime and they'll eventually we'll call them back, So it's like they got us right where they want us. But if you it's like setting boundaries. If you set parameters like that, it helps a lot. I used to give people too many choices. I'd say, I'm free this time of this day, this time that day, like 12 different choices. And I finally realized, just give them a choice of 2 things, 3 o'clock today or 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. And that really helped a lot. The more you do that, the more they will respect you. And plus they see you, they hold you at a higher level of esteem. You're more professional to them. So I'm just thrilled that you're having this stuff happen. By the way, Steve, brand new. She literally just got into the business.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, this is her first listing she's working on, and
Nice.
already has a closed transaction, and then she's brought somebody to the team. Just really, amazing start. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, Brittany. Welcome to the crazy world of realty.
Yeah.
Bonetta, what do you got?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, great. Hey, Steve, thank you so much. Your presentation or talk was awesome. But that first couple of points that you made, you said marketing is the something and sales is the something and the something. Can you repeat that, please?
Yes, ma'am.
I was walking my dog, so I didn't get a chance to write it down at the time.
No problem. So there are 3 cornerstones to you guys building your business. First cornerstone is monetization. You've got to learn how to monetize your business. And I'll give you the subsets of these in a second. The second is the systemization. That's to systematize your business, to have it run without you. And the third is duplication. Duplicating yourself and your staff and your team to grow in different markets and to grow, kind of split the atom. So monetization is made up of marketing and sales. So marketing makes the phone ring. Sales answers the phone, goes through the sales step process, and then converts them to becoming a client. Operations takes that new client, processes the order, and does such a good job that they want that customer to either buy again from you, meaning a recurring customer, and send referrals. Each person is equal to statistically 5.7 referrals. Accounting, finances, make sure that everyone is paid. And on top of that is leadership. So you have marketing, sales, operations, financing, and leadership. So those are the 5 pieces of the puzzle to creating an organization chart. And again, you all have or need all 5 of these positions. You may be doing all 5 of these right now, but if you're missing one of them, it's like a train track that's missing a set of tracks. The train's not going to reach the station. So if you're missing marketing or you're missing sales or you're missing operations, it may not get to where you want to go. So this is kind of looking at your business from an outside perspective, like I do when I'm consulting people. And this is kind of like the 1,000-foot view to see where are the blind spots or the weaknesses in your business model that you may not realize is a blind spot or a weakness. And it may be something that you want to look at.
Yeah. Good question, Madonna.
Yeah. Did that answer it?
Yes. So you think the sales steps comes before the sales steps? Because it sounds like the sales step is conversion.
I'm sorry, the sales steps come before what?
You think the sales steps come after the sales? Because it sounds like the sales steps will come before the sale, because the sale equals conversion.
Yeah, the sales steps equal it gets you to the sales conversion. You're correct. The second one that you said, yeah. Sales steps is the process that you go through to select or deselect this potential to determine if they are going to be a fit for your company.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Hey guys, when it comes to marketing, that's a giant subject. It's an entire, I mean, there's college programs, entire degrees just in marketing. So there's a lot of components to it. And one of the components is advertising. One is, the actual research, who are you going to speak to? But always remember the marketing triangle. You can draw a triangle in your notes with an M at each corner. There's 3 M's, right? Triangle. The first M, the top, is your market. That's the people you're looking to serve. One of the other M's is your message, what you're saying to that market. So your message has to match the market. You got to speak in terms of that those people want to hear. They want to, interested in what you have to say, and they like it. And the third was the media. How are you communicating with them? Whether it's phone, text, email, Instagram, whatever. When you have alignment between all 3, you have a big $ in the middle. So if you look on the marketing tab on our website, the team website, you have to log into the members area, go to the marketing tab. You're going to see 2 things to click on first. One of them is the 2 centrifugal circles, one representing your database. Remember 1, 2, and 3. 1's are your inner circle. 2 are the people you know, but you might not invite them to the picnic. And 3 are people you might not even know. And then the marketing is, in layers, right? The innermost layer is direct communication, speaking to them directly on the phone or in person, whatever. Outside of that is direct communication, but not on the phone or not in person. It could be an email, a text. Then outside of that is your other marketing and so forth. In any case, the second document is called the marketing sequence document. And that's where you see which marketing works together, what marketing campaigns go together. so they complement each other and serve each other. For example, the booklet is great at branding yourself and providing valuable information to people when it comes to investment properties. You give them something they can use, and it helps them to identify you with being a person to help them invest. So we get some deals from that, but it really is a branding tool. Whereas the letter is directly, specifically focused on getting listings, right? So if you do work the two together at the same time, you should be up and running in no time. I know Brittany, her first batch of letters is what's leading to this guy that's been difficult to communicate with. He wants to sell, but it's cat and mouse. So now she knows what to do. And by the way, Brittany, everybody here, I'm going to come down a rabbit hole here for a second. Specifically with the letter, you cannot just send the letter once. You got to send it up to 12 times. The same letter to the same people. When they respond to you, then you can take them off that next mailing list, right? And you should call them also after the first mailing, right? So you got two sources of media. One's a handwritten letter. The other one is an actual phone call. I promise you, if you do that, you're going to get about a 3% conversion rate. Out of every 100 letters, you're going to get three deals. It's sometimes more. We've had neighborhoods, we've had response rates as high as 24% in some neighborhoods on that letter. But you have to follow the instructions and keep doing it. You can't do it once and quit. In fact, Steve, any comments on that? About marketing is tough. I get it. Psychologically, it's like, man, I spent this money, I did these letters, I didn't get anything. I'm going to go do something else. But the reality is you have to learn how to use that tool, right? I mean, it's a sequence of steps. I mean, any thoughts or suggestions on that?
Yeah, listen, I think the most important thing in any business is marketing. Marketing is, if you're not focused on marketing, you're going out of business. You just don't realize it till your bank account says zero. That's the reality. So I agree. The only thing that works in marketing is consistency. That's it. Now, you said 12 letters. I would even take that and slice up those 12 and do what's called split testing. There's a psychological way to the color of the page, the font, the way it's New Times Roman, to where the bottom of the letters connect. There's a psychological way. You don't know what's going to work, right? When I do ads on Facebook, we split test 9 to 15 different ads by different background, different shirt, different call to action. So the only thing that works is being consistent, right? The one thing that doesn't work, and the only thing I would say is, people look at marketing as a spend. It's actually an investment. If I invest $20,000 in marketing, what's my return going to be? If you start thinking about it, and again, that's a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but if you're looking at it as marketing, there is an investment to it. It's either investing your time or you're going to be investing your capital. But you're investing something in marketing, because you have to understand, why is someone going to use you? You talk about marketing. I do in my 2-day events, I do 2 whole days just on marketing. It's that important, I think, that marketing has to, because if your phone's not ringing, it doesn't matter anymore. It's just a matter of time. And it's called market share for a reason. You guys are sharing the market with other competitors. The question is who's getting the business? And if you're not doing something to differentiate you, and to be, I don't believe in being better. I believe in being different. When you are better, you're in a price war. You're always just trying to be better. Don't be better, be totally different. When you're totally different, you can charge whatever you want because you're different. So there's a psychological advantage to that. But just going back to what you said, I had drip campaigns. So drip campaigns are emails and messages that go out automatically. My messages would go out for 3 years after someone contacted me. They were getting emails all the time, emails, drips, text messages, videos for 3 years. Is anyone else doing that? Because if you're not, you're probably missing a lot of business, because you paid for that phone to ring, right? It cost you something. What you do with it from there, that's the challenge. And that's where the 22 steps come in.
Yep. Hey, so Steve, I know we're probably going to start to wrap this up here, but anything you can share with us about your program? I mean, everybody here, it's like a 1-to-many ratio. Everybody here has multiple clients, and some are big operators and some are just regular folks just trying to add a little cash flow to the game. But many of them could be potential prospects for you,
Yeah, yeah. And listen, I'm all about abundance. I'm all about helping people. I speak all over the world. I speak all over the US. I'll be in Florida the next couple of weeks, doing a lot of stuff in the Florida area. But I show people how to make their businesses run on autopilot, how to make it run without you, whether that's you as agents or your investors. I'm pretty well known in the whole Bigger Pockets community and all those people and blah, blah. But at the end of the day, I show people how to build a business to run without them, because I want them to be able to have the freedom to create the memories in their life that they want to create. Just making money doesn't mean anything. Zeros in your bank account don't mean anything. It's also, how do you create the life that you want to have to create the memories? And so having a business that runs without you gives you the ability to do that. And sometimes, again, whether you're an investor, whether you're a realtor, it doesn't matter. I think we can all learn. I'm still coached and mentored by someone. You guys are all smart by being here with Gary and learning from Gary. That's what you need to do. You need to keep moving. I mean, Michael Jordan was the best athlete on the planet. He had 5 coaches when he played for the Bulls. You get more help as you get better, not less. So I just think it's a big thing that you should always be getting better. I do free masterclass webinars. I've got one tomorrow. I speak on stages. I do events. I do 2-day events to run your business. I'm not here to sell anything. I'm just here to let you know that you should all be trying to get better every day, because I believe that we all have a choice in the morning. When we wake up, we make a decision. I'm either going to be better than yesterday or I'm going to be worse. If I choose to be better, as soon as I open my eyes, I make that decision. If you wake up and you don't make a decision, you made a decision and it's probably not the right one. So just try to be better. Just try to surround yourself, like you're doing here, with like-minded people, right? You're the product of the 5 people you hang around with, and be better. Whether it's, seeing what I do, what other people do, it doesn't matter, but always be striving for knowledge. Knowledge is the key. It's just, if you put action to it, right? You can have the best knowledge in your head, but it's useless if you don't take that first step. And so I've just learned that many times the reason people fail to succeed is they don't take that first step of action. And it's normally out of fear of, we think we're more important than we are. We don't want to look dumb. Nobody really cares. Nobody cares if you look dumb. It's okay to look dumb. I guarantee you, your 500th, they'll look a lot better than your first. And so it's repetition, it's muscle memory, it's doing it every day consistently. All these things that we talked about, I tell people, if you don't want to do all these things that we discussed, then go back and get a job. But we did this for a reason. We're all here. We're all entrepreneurs owning a business for a reason. Keep learning, keep taking that next step. Don't stop here, because whatever got us all where we are today, wherever you are right now, that's your level. If you don't do something different, you're not going to get to the next level. So coming to these things, being engaging with Gary, learning, that's what it takes to get to the next level. Whether it's learning from someone like me and really excelling, or whatever you want to do, take action to the next level. It's not expensive. It doesn't cost you anything. It's what will it give me and what will my life be like as a result? Because the one thing we don't get back is time. And my thing is if I can give someone and shave someone off 5, 10, 20 years off of what I've done, I'm giving them back their time, which is their life, which is the most valuable thing we should have. So that's all I have. Like I said, I mean, I do a lot of stuff. I speak all over the country. If you follow me, you'll see. But I just like to help people if I can.
Yeah. Hey, you said the webinar tomorrow, is that open?
Yeah, it is actually. I could, if you guys are interested, I could send you a link if you want to see it. You want me to put it in the
Sure.
box here?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
So
Yeah.
what I talked about today is probably the tip of the iceberg of what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. So let me see here. Let me see if I could do this correctly.
Okay.
Um,
And if you guys could, if you like tonight's class and what Steve gave to you messaging wise, and his intellect and his talent and just basically his energy, if you could just type in thank you in a chat box, or give a big wave, or just, you can unmute yourself and say thank you too, So
Thank you so
there's-
much.
Thank you.
yeah.
You're very welcome. I appreciate you guys coming, and I hope that I was able to help you all. Let me see here.
So guys, the link for that webinar tomorrow is in the chat box. There's no strings attached. You can go learn and this is how the business works. And then, if you have clients you think would benefit from Steve, make that introduction,
Yeah, listen, I think I think as entrepreneurs, as a society, we're a small group. There's not many of us. If I can help you, I've talked to thousands and thousands of investors. I had a show on Bigger Pockets and all this other stuff. And listen, I just think I just come from a different perspective because I came from an airline pilot background and I mean, I hate to say this, I don't need the money. I like to help people. And I think that, if anyone knows my story, I've had some tragedies in my life with my family. So I think that it's my time to give back and to help people. And this is how I do it. And it helps me to help other people. So if you want to learn, like I said, tonight was the tip of the iceberg of tomorrow. It's from 11 a.m. CST. Did the link come through? Hopefully it did.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but he's trying to launch into the Zoom meeting. So it's not a registration link.
It's what? Oh,
It's not a registration link. It's trying to launch into the Zoom.
oh, that's funny. Let me.
Oh.
I saw
Would that
this
work
thing.
tomorrow? PF,
Well, do
like
you
if
need us to register, Steve, or can we just join?
I'm pretty easy. Let me give you this. Maybe this will do it. Biz Auto. See if that did it. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. And again, you guys, I would come with a pen and paper because you guys will learn a ton. And listen, hopefully you guys will walk away. I'm going to go through everything, a little bit about what I talked about today. I'm going to go really deep on all these subjects, and it's a lot. And this is what I do. So again, no obligation. It's free, complimentary. That's what I do. I do them every week. I'll be, like I said, I'll be in Orlando speaking on Friday and I'll be in Houston on Wednesday, Orlando Friday and Saturday, Fort Lauderdale next week. I've got a 2-day event that I'm doing for people in Orlando next month. So I'll kind of doing the Orlando circuit. It seems like lately, I don't know how that happened, but I'm in Orlando quite a bit. So if anyone's in Florida and you want to meet up, happy to do that. Did that go through? It said it went to hosts and panelists. I don't know how to get it to everybody. Did that go through to everyone?
Yeah.
What time will that be? Tomorrow?
It's at 11 a.m. CST.
Okay.
So I'm Texas time, so it's that time. But
I'm
yeah,
gonna
listen, I'm sorry.
I'm going to repost it to the everyone tag. That
Okay.
way no matter what, everybody will get it now,
Yeah, listen, like I said, I love helping. I love, like I said, I'll tell my story a little bit tomorrow. I had a loss of my son. And so I talk about it a little bit. And I think that, my time in this life is now to give back as much as I can. And that's what I do. So I've got a lot of knowledge up here in my head. So if I can help other people, I'll do that. And you guys will learn from, 20 years of building businesses and real estate and everything. And you'll see how it's very relatable to you all.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And by the way, I'm going to say thanks and welcome to the guest, Toya Brown. Let's see, who else we have in here? Blessed Hamill. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Blessed Hamill. Sean, looks like could be Alibi, but I know it's probably Alibi. Thanks you guys for joining. And for the new folks, Alton Davis, Marilee Norton, welcome aboard to the team. And I appreciate all you guys participating. I love these classes. We do them every Monday night for the guests. You can come. Again, no strings attached. We don't sell, pitch. All we do is we teach and inspire. So you can come anytime you want. And Steve, thanks again, brother, man, for doing this. I know that was a big ask, and you definitely came through with flying colors. That was awesome.
My pleasure. Thank you all. And I hope I helped you all just a little bit, and you guys see it. And for those of you that come tomorrow, I guarantee you will not be sorry. So thank you all very much. And I will talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
You guys
Have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Have a
Set up
good
your
night.
one-on-ones. Set up your strategy calls.
Good night.
Thank you, Gary. Good night.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of Monday Night Live. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.